The labyrinthine world of Sega hardware is an incredibly intricate one, filled with a mind-boggling array of product variations. In addition to their flagship consoles, Sega frequently introduced Mark II and Mark III iterations, handheld devices, extravagant system-enhancing add-ons, and even all-in-one units, such as the Wonder Mega, which seamlessly combined consoles and add-ons into single pieces of hardware. But as we plunge even deeper into the Sega system universe, we uncover a trove of hardware prototypes that never saw the light of day. It's astonishing just how many unconventional and cancelled Sega devices were created out there. Most of us are well acquainted with, say, the Sega Saturn or Dreamcast, but there's an obscure piece of machinery from this age that fewer people are familiar with. So without further delay, hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. This is the story of the forgotten Sega Genesis FDD, or as it was known in Japan, the Megadrive Disk Drive. Yeah! The 16-bit Sega console holds a special place in the heart of many gamers, including myself. It was a console that ushered in a new era of gaming in the late 80s and early 90s, and its iconic design and library of games left an indelible mark on my childhood. I can still vividly remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog for the first time at a school friend's house and looking at that sleek black console design and that iconic Sega startup jingle that played every time it was powered on. Sure, the system's graphics and sound are primitive by today's standards, but they were cutting edge at the time and added to the magic of the experience. This console had something for everyone. It was the system that fostered countless gaming memories with friends and family, as we huddled around the TV passing controllers back and forth and cheering each other on. As I look back on those days of Sega gaming, I can't help but feel a sense of nostalgia. The console may have faded into the annals of gaming history, but its legacy lives on in the heart of those who grew up with it. The Sega Genesis was more than just a gaming system. It was a portal to a world of adventure, excitement and unforgettable memories, which makes it all the more cooler learning new things about this now legendary device 3 decades removed from its heyday. Let's be honest, we can't talk about this platform without talking about add-ons. Classic Sega consoles and their unique system add-ons were inseparable, much like iconic 90s duos such as Bulk and Skull, Ren and Stimpy, and Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. They share a special bond that's hard to disassociate. Among the various Sega consoles, the 16-bit Sega Genesis stood as the pinnacle when it came to these occasionally quirky add-ons. Notably, there was the Mega CD, which not only played CD games, but also introduced hardware upgrades, like a faster CPU and graphic enhancements such as sprite scaling and rotation, with it even opening up the possibility of playing audio CDs and CD plus G discs. In addition to the Mega CD, there was of course the infamous 32X, American-developed hardware that aimed to prolong the Genesis's lifespan by offering a cost-effective solution for 32-bit gaming. This was Sega's attempt to cater to budget-conscious gamers who were reluctant to invest in a Sega Saturn, but let's be honest, it remains a head-scratcher to this day. And let's not forget the Sega Channel, a now discontinued online game service designed for the Genesis, serving as an early content delivery system. Comment below if you think this is something worth exploring in a future video on this channel. With all of these unique add-ons in mind, you might wonder where the disk drive fits into this exciting Sega saga. So let's dig a little deeper. If you know your gaming history, you might already know that when it comes to disk drive add-ons, these weren't anything new to game consoles, with one of the most well-known examples being Nintendo's 8-bit Famicom hardware. The Famicom disk system was introduced due to the cost-effectiveness and rewritability of floppy disks. Nintendo relied on their disc writer kiosks, which were situated in stores across the country, allowing gamers to purchase games written onto existing discs. However, as good an idea this sounded on paper, Nintendo's disc cards were prone to fragility issues. Piracy became widespread, the disc kiosks occupied significant store space, and advancements in technology made cartridges more cost effective and easier to manufacture. Consequently, Nintendo discontinued its disc system just a few years in. So what did the Genesis intend to do that Nintendo didn't? Rather interestingly, Sega's mysterious Megadrive disc-based add-on wasn't their first foray into the world of disc-based gaming. They had actually ventured into this territory way back in 1984, even before the Famicom disk system came into existence. This early hardware was known as the Super Control Station SF7000 and was designed to expand the capabilities of Sega's SC3000 home computer, which was equivalent to their initial Sega SG1000 home console, a precursor to the Master System which capabilities-wise was more in line with the ColecoVision. The SF7000 allowed users to run software from 3-inch floppy disks and offered additional enhancements to the Sega platform, including an extra 64KB of RAM and 8KB of ROM, a Centronics parallel port and an RS-232 serial port. Today, this technology is considered rare and expensive due to the Super Control Station's commercial failure. Its primary drawback was its reliance on the less common 3-inch floppy disk format as opposed to the more widely used 3.5-inch or 5.25-inch formats. Prior to delving into the Megadrive Disk Drive, Sega ventured into experimenting with yet another disc-based add-on, the enigmatic Sega Master System Disk System, which we may look at in more detail if you have a taste for this episode. This would have positioned snugly beneath a primary Master System console, much akin to the Sega Megadrive's initial iteration of the Mega CD. The purpose of this accessory was to augment the Master System's storage capacity for games, potentially making it a more commercially viable successor to its predecessor, provided it had adopted a more commonplace disc format. One can conjecture that, akin to the Famicom disk system, these devices with their numerous moving parts might have led to elevated failure rates, slower load times compared to cartridge-based media, and continued expense associated with disc production. Considering these factors alongside the already high cost of the add-on itself, it becomes increasingly comprehensible why Sega opted to shelve this concept. This leads us to the next chapter in Sega's disk drive history, the one I imagine that you're eager to learn more about the most, the Megadrive Disk Drive. The Megadrive Disk Drive, also formerly known as the Megadrive Floppy Disk Drive, was another piece of Sega hardware that aimed to harness the 3.5-inch floppy format, a format which was becoming increasingly affordable over time. Sega commonly abbreviated it as the FDD, and it was designed to comfortably fit into an expansion port located on the system's right hand side, which would later be utilised for the Sega Mega CD. There is a source suggesting that Sega co-developed this hardware with Sony, but we'll delve more into that shortly. The most comprehensive information we have about this device was published in the January 1989 issue of Beep magazine. Unfortunately, it's all written in Japanese, but thanks to the efforts of mdshock.com, the article was translated in 2018 into English. This allows us to understand what was detailed in this valuable scoop. Beep magazine had the opportunity to visit Sega's headquarters in Japan, where they interviewed Shigeo Kamata, who worked on the home video sales side at Sega, and Hideki Sato from Sega's hardware research and development division. Sato, a legendary figure in the gaming industry, and his team are credited with creating most of Sega's consumer console hardware, including the SG-1000, Master System, Mega Drive, Saturn, and Dreamcast. Sato played a pivotal role in each generation of Sega hardware, resulting in him becoming one of the most important people in Sega's history. Regarding the floppy disk drive, they explained, "We have a prototype ready, but the problem is the cost. We want to make it at the same level as the main console, but that's going to cost a lot for children. They'd be able to buy 4 games for the same price, so we have a significant responsibility to make the right decision." Basically, we're hoping that the memory shortage ends soon, but either way, we will release the FDD around next spring once the market settles back down. Further in the article, the primary purpose of the FDD is revealed. Its existence aimed to transform the Mega Drive into more than just a game console, essentially turning it into a budget PC when paired with a keyboard. They stated, "We are planning on releasing the keyboard at the same time as the modem and FDD. When you connect these 3 to the Mega Drive, it will become a complete computer." In typical Sega fashion, it appears the intention was this add-on was to keep adding more features, including the introduction of a graphics tablet that could be used in conjunction with the disk drive and could be plugged into the system's controller port. Regarding this, the Sega employee mentioned, "We're preparing a graphic tablet and a standard joystick. The joystick is being developed jointly with another company, so that will depend on when they finish it, but we expect it to come out around March." The UK magazine Raze also reported on the disk drive, stating Sega is designing a floppy disk drive to plug in here, and there's already a keyboard and modem for the Megadrive. It seems Sega may have an Amiga beta on their hands. While this might sound like a strange statement for my American viewers, in the context of my country this makes sense, and not only were Amiga home computers popular in this region, but the Amiga CD32 managed to outsell the Sega Mega CD add-on, with Commodore UK even cheekily placing a huge advertisement on a billboard outside of Sega's headquarters that read, "To be this good will take Sega ages." A cheeky jab at the UK marketing of the Megadrive, which ran with the slogan "To be this good will take ages," as opposed to "Genesis does what Nintendo don't." After all, by such a point Nintendo had never been more popular than Sega in the UK anyway, so why mention them at all? EGM also covered the disk drive, adding to the discussion the company is working on a disk drive and keyboard that can elevate this grandmaster of game systems into a full-fledged and very powerful personal computer. Although the add-on is rumoured to be very close to finished for the Megadrive, it is uncertain when we'll see similar attachments for our Genesis. So what happened to this mysterious device? EGM reported on the disk drive one final time in the future, stating Sega has ditched their plans to market the floppy disk drive system that Sony developed for them and will instead unveil a true CD-ROM interface for their 16-bit heavy hitter next spring. An interesting comment to make, considering this was around the same period that Sony would have been working alongside Nintendo on the Nintendo PlayStation add-on. EGM would add that the disk drive add-on was dropped in favour of a more innovative CD add-on. However, considering the significant differences in functionality between these two devices, it's possible there's more to this story than meets the eye. Perhaps Sega realised that the concept of game consoles doubling as personal computers wasn't particularly appealing to consumers, not to mention the disadvantages of a disc-based system which hindered devices like the Famicom Disk System, Super Control Station and later the Nintendo 64 DD, with their many weaknesses. Through all of this, it becomes tremendously clear that Sega's history of eccentric hardware remains interesting, with an array of experimental devices for us to look back at and ponder about. Sega's penchant for designing weird hardware will never stop being entertaining. Anyway, if you enjoyed this one, subscribe and check out my video on the ludicrous Sega Saturn 64X. Yeah!